So once again, I had started some heated debates, and this is a topic I just wanted to bring up briefly. This is from a page on Facebook called the Mexican Community. It says nobody in this country is struggling because of an undocumented immigrant. Nobody. And my rebuttal was that is 100% false. For one thing, the Black community has struggled for years with hiring and job retention because illegal labor flooded the workforce, undercut wages, and worked for far less with no benefits. That is not speculation. We are seeing the results now. Now, ever since the deportations began, many of the Black people that I know, specifically in California, are suddenly receiving job offers and earning significantly more because the illegal slave labor is no longer suppressing wages. So, what that means is that only until the last few months in 2025 did we see that because the illegals were being removed, the one community that specifically would benefit the most, which is the Black community, is already seeing amazing results. Now, when large scale illegal slave labor entered the workforce, Black Americans were disproportionately pushed out of entry level and skilled jobs. Wages were kept low and job access was restricted. Many Black people were forced onto welfare and government assistance after being replaced by workers willing to accept a lower pay and no benefits. So this is when people attacked me, right? You have people in these comments that are saying that's not true. Black people are on welfare. Black people are on government assistance. Okay, that is true. But why did they be on, how they get there in the first place? So then that's when we have to go down, take a little trip through history. The time when Martin Luther King rose into prominence, there was also another figure that rose into prominence, a man by the name of Hugo Cesar Chavez. Both were prominent and moving forward in the 60s. It was a two-sided issue. Martin Luther King worked his ass off as a communist, going around the country and speaking to Black people in churches, convincing them that there was no shame in depending on the state to solve their problems. Before Martin Luther King, Black people were very prideful. They lived conservative. They took care of themselves and their families. Martin Luther King came along and he convinced people that the state owes them and that they should be statists and the government should be their lifeline that they depend on. Once Black people became more comfortable living off the government in the late 60s, early 70s, that's when Hugo Chavez fought for the rights of illegals to work in the United States and receive a better pay. But it was still slave wages compared to what they would have to pay Americans. But there was no minimum wage back then. So you got to think about it. It was a two-sided coin. It's like this was all pre-planned. Martin Luther King convinced Black people that they should be more, that there's no shame in being dependent on the government to take care of you. But when that happened, that's when the Hispanic community from Mexico primarily moved into the workforce and literally took over California automatically. Now, the issues we have in California, you don't see that in every state, but our illegal alien population in California was higher than anywhere else in the country first. That alone displaced pretty much everyone. I mean, yeah, think about it. My family are immigrants. I know that we displaced Black people because, for one thing, where my grandmother worked, they started requiring everybody to speak Spanish because there were so many of us Spanish speakers. What do Black people speak? Most of them barely speak English, let alone proper English. So if you only know English, and the requirement in California for the past 30 years is you need to be bilingual, especially if you're Black, what does that mean for you in the workforce? That means you cannot participate in the workforce. So, yes, the illegals and immigrants push the Black population out of the workforce in places like California? Absolutely. The reason I'm so fervent when it comes to pushing America first and American only policies is because, in my opinion, as immigrants, if we really are trying to believe in equality, it is time for us to give them their country back. Because is it fair that us newcomers can come here and we can supersede Black Americans who have already been here? I mean, historically, the jobs that they were going to do and their children would do, Latinos, we just took over everything. And we literally pushed them out of into unemployment and government dependence for the past, what, 40 years, 50 years almost? And many of them want to get back to work. Like right now, because the illegals are being removed, I know so many people that are getting amazing job offers. They're making double and triple what they were normally paying, and they're doing free education. And it's mainly for the Black people who are taking over these jobs that now that the illegal slave labor has been disappearing. So that's why for me, when I see people with their propaganda about, oh, illegal immigrants are not hurting nobody, they're just here trying to work. Okay, there's not enough jobs for both of us. One of us is going to get hired. One of us is going to be in the unemployment line. That's not going to work. You have to leave. And as immigrants, if we really do care about Americans, everybody wants to bring up Black people when it's time for you to fight or protest. Well, how about this? Give Black people your job, give them their jobs back. If you're committing fraud at a daycare, why don't you put on some Black people, show them how to do the fraud and give them the daycare and you go back to your country? Because from what Black people are saying, the reason they don't care about the Somalians and the other immigrants is because, for one, we don't speak to Black people. Nobody likes Black people besides Black people. So nobody really interacts with them. So it's like they feel outcast in their own country. And then they don't even feel like this is their country. Nobody will talk to them besides white people, and they hate white people. So it's like this alienation that comes from this whole illegal and legal migration situation in America. There's somebody has to get the short end of the stick. Historically, it's been the Black community for a very, very long time. Now, I'm not even saying the Black community makes up the best workers. However, because they are original Americans that have been here for hundreds of years, they deserve priority in line for opportunities. Trump is bringing back these opportunities by removing the one hurdle they've had. Any of my Black friends that complained about not getting hired or being rejected, it was because a person who could speak Spanish, legal or not, they could not compete against. Think about those people that used to want to work for the city of Los Angeles, city of Compton, city of Paramount, city of Lakewood, city of Linwood. You could not even get these city jobs unless you spoke Spanish also. In your own country, they require you speak a foreign language. But yet there's no harm in illegal immigration, and we're not supposed to notice that the Black community has ultimately been pushed completely out of the job market and into the welfare and government system. If we're going to remove these entitlements, we have to make sure people got to go back to work. Personally, I don't think everybody wants to be on welfare. I think a lot of people, not all of them, but many, would take a job opportunity and work if it was available. But again, if you're from California, when they've told you your entire life that if you don't speak Spanish, we can't hire you, you become so discouraged, you give up and you don't even try. But they're not saying that anymore. They're literally hiring Black people for HVAC jobs. They're doing free training for electricians, plumbing, everything. They're offering free schooling, all because one thing happened. Their slaves are gone. Remember back when you hear the stories about the Civil War? Remember when the South was like, well, if we get rid of the slaves, who's going to pick the fields? Who's going to clean the toilets? Who's going to go do these mundane tasks that nobody wants to do because we think we're too good? That's literally the same argument the left is making for why the Hispanic population or the illegals in general are designated slave labor. And that's not fair to Americans who would love to do those same jobs as long as they were just being paid accordingly. Step by step, we have to bring back our economy, but it needs to be clear to these fucking people that are protesting. You are protesting against your own self-interest. If you are an American, an illegal being removed means an American will get their job. You should want to see Americans, even if they're black, you should want to see them back to work. You should want to see them prospering. You should not want to see them joining street gangs and getting killed and turning to a life of crime because there's no legal avenues to earn money. You know, I was just having a talk with one of my friends back in LA, and we used to be from the same gang and everything together. And we were talking about how until Uber came out like around 2013, 2014, there was no such thing as jobs for young people in Los Angeles. If you weren't Mexican or if you didn't speak Spanish, you couldn't get a job at a fast food restaurant. You definitely weren't getting a job at a car wash. You definitely weren't getting a job at a warehouse or at the mall because there's so many Hispanic people here, you got to be bilingual. So if you're black, you're cooked. You're done. So what we're seeing now is just a resurgence of Americans who can now qualify for these jobs because the Hispanic population is no longer being prioritized. That's one of the beauties about what's happening now. It's it's realigning everything to an America first, but also Americans first, regardless of race. If you're an American, you're now not going to have to compete with slave labor from foreign countries. Why are you out there protesting? What are you protesting? You're protesting against yourself. You're protesting against your own financial freedom, your financial security. You're protesting against your own financial prospects in the future. This is for you. We are removing the illegals so that you and your children can have an opportunity to buy a home, to afford to move and to own things. Home ownership is down. People aren't buying stuff anymore. The economy has been a big, huge problem because a lot of Americans don't want to go back. They don't want to work or they're not able to get jobs. But how could you compete with an illegal that's working for slave wages who speaks 2 languages? Well, they speak 1.5. You really can't compete. There's nothing you can do. And you don't have the option to go to their country and get a job and not speak their language and live over there and get benefits. So you think it's fair for them to come to your country and do that? So that's why when I see somebody make a post like this that says nobody in this country is struggling because of an undocumented immigrant, I say bullshit. I got a whole community that's been struggling for over 40 years, and everyone wants to pretend like they've always been on welfare. Newsflash, they weren't. If you look at the timeline between Hugo Chavez and Martin Luther King speaking communism into the black ear, and Hugo Chavez speaking directly to people that want slaves in their agriculture in California. They want slave labor. And Hugo Chavez speaking to the migrants about coming there to work and getting the freedom to come. Bro, it all lines up. If you look at the rise of gang culture and violent crime in these cities that are close to the border, it matches up for when black people went to start living off the government because the illegals came and took their jobs. It all lines up. They all run parallel to one another. They're not independent. They're literally all reactions of one another. So that's just a point that I wanted to make. I have these conversations with people, and instead of me having to repeat myself over and over again, I'll make a video like this and I'll talk about it, and then I'll go through the comments and I can send it around to people and they can let me know if they agree or disagree. But no matter what, you had to know how to speak Spanish in America as an American to get a job. But if I go to Mexico, I don't have to learn I have to learn Spanish. I can't just speak English only. It's like this weird double standard. And no one's calling for these other countries to change their policies. They're only calling for it in the United States. And that's not going to work for me. I don't like double standards. I've never been a fan of them. Not now, not never. So let's see here. The correct course is to restore fairness by enforcing the law and returning jobs to citizens. and legal residents. Americans should not be excluded from employment in their own country. Speaking English should never disqualify an American from earning a living. This is not anti-immigration. This is not anti-immigrant. This is pro-American worker. Trump is course correcting by enforcing the law and restoring balance to the labor market. Giving jobs back to Americans is not radical. It is the bare minimal responsibility of a sovereign nation. What does that equal? America first, but not just America first, Americans first. If you're watching my content and you're listening to these videos, you're likely an American. Isn't it time that you are the priority of your government? Isn't it time that you, your background, your beliefs, your people, your tribe of people, not who you share an appearance with, but who you share the same mindset and ideology with, isn't it time that you guys were made a priority once again? And we haven't been for a very long time. Again, I'm from an immigrant family, so I can just be honest. I know what we did. I was there. Have I not taken opportunities from other Americans because I have certain advantages to them, being, being quadlingual or being, a certain, yes. Now, could they have educated themselves more? No. It's not, America does not train its people to be as mentally robust as someone like myself. They're not going to speak multiple languages. They're not going to understand the tone scale or how to talk to people. That's not for everyone. Intellectual conversation is not for everyone. Some people can talk, some people cannot. But I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there are certain jobs that I was given that were taken away from Americans who are actually historically from this country because of my background. I feel that if we are really caring about equality, maybe we should consider maybe giving them their country and giving them their jobs back. Even if I don't want to, it doesn't matter. Trump's doing it anyway. You're going back to work. I have friends of mine that were anti-Trump that used to argue with me on Facebook. They're still my friends on Facebook, but they don't argue with me no more. You know what they do? They just don't say nothing at all. I don't appreciate that. Why don't you tell Trump thank you? Why don't you make a post that says, hey, I'm a truck driver that was out of work for 3, 4, 5 years. All of a sudden now I got job offers making triple. I'm on the road right now. Thank you, Trump. Thank you to them. They kicked they took all the licenses away from those illegal aliens. The ones you had to compete with as a truck driver, they took them away. The ones who you had to compete with for those jobs, they took them. Now you and your kids can go to work as men. You can feel like a man. You know how much of a fucking bitch you must feel like begging and sucking on the government for money? You know what they say? A man with his hand out is a man with his tongue out. You know what that means. Don't you like being the person that can take care of yourself and take care of your family on your own without having to beg and grovel and be looked down upon? But that's what comes with freedom. Freedom comes with the responsibility to take care of yourself and your family on your own. But it makes it hard when our jobs are just gifted away to people because they're slaves. I thought we were against slavery. That's why I call for the abolishment of all this immigration, shut down the borders, no more immigration, no more legal immigration. We have enough people here. What do they tell you when you're on an airplane? You must secure your oxygen mask first before you can help someone else. And we're in a free fall right now. And now we're pulling, the pilot is our president. He's pulling us up. We're stabilizing, but we have to secure our own oxygen first before we can help anyone else. We don't have that luxury right now. Stop protesting against your own self-interest. Stop putting other people in front of you. Stop handing over your birthright for free to people who don't give two shits about you. Renee Good died for people who would never donate a penny to her white funeral that she's supposed to have for herself. None of those people would donate a dime. There's no Somalians that are pulling together and trying to use some of that daycare money to give her a lavish, beautiful funeral. Nothing. There's none of that. These people, they don't see you the way you see them. You're virtue signaling. They're just taking advantage of you and your kindness. And you have to wise up and be smarter than that. I'll be back on with another topic in about 10 minutes. Remember, America first, America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.